You know that feeling when you're watching a juggler? They've got 3 balls in the air, then 4, then 5. It's impressive. But then they add a chainsaw and a bowling ball. And you stop, looking at the skill and you start looking for the exit because you know the physics just doesn't work anymore.
That is a very vivid and slightly terrifying way to put it. But honestly, it fits.
That is exactly the vibe I got reading this analysis today. We are diving into a piece of geopolitical strategy called the dual dollar defense against imperial overstretch.
It's a heavy one.
It is. And I have to say, usually when we cover economic papers, they can be a little dry. This one felt urgent. It felt like watching that juggler right before the drop.
Right. It argues that the United States is currently trying to defy the laws of economic physics.
And it does that by connecting a few things you don't normally see together.
Yeah, it's not just looking at inflation or interest rates in a vacuum. It's connecting infrastructure, currency stability, and this is the part that really stuck with me: human capital.
The basic argument being that we're in a trap we built for ourselves.
Exactly.
Imperial overstretch, it's the headline phrase. But before you, our listener, tune out thinking this is a history lesson about the Roman Empire or something.
Right, or a map of military bases.
Yeah. The source uses this term in a very specific modern way. It's not about expanding borders. It's about the cost of, well, just staying still.
Right. The traditional definition of imperial overstretch is military. You conquer too much land, you can't defend it all, you go broke. Rome, Britain, the classics. But this source argues the U.S. is facing domestic overstretch. We're trying to do two mutually exclusive things at once with the same bank account.
And that's the imperial part, because it threatens the whole system from the inside out.
That's the argument, yeah.
Okay, so let's name those two things, because this is the core of it all.
Yeah.
The source calls it the infrastructure trap.
Yeah.
What exactly are we trapped between?
So on one side, you have what the source calls the old stack.
The old stack, okay.
Yeah, right. And that's, everything built in the 20th century. We are talking about the power grid, the bridges, the water systems, even bureaucratic institutions, the pension obligations.
So not just the physical stuff, then?
Not just physical, no. And it's massive. It's aging, and the cost to just maintain it, not even improve it, just keep it from collapsing, that cost rises exponentially every year.
That makes sense. It's just entropy. A 50-year-old bridge costs way more to maintain than a 5-year-old bridge.
Exactly. It's a liability. But here's the kicker. On the other side, you have the new stack.
This is the future.
This is the future. The U.S. is desperate to win the race for the 21st century. So we're talking AI data centers, reindustrialization, green energy grids, quantum computing. This requires massive upfront capital investment.
Trillions of dollars.
Trillions.
Yeah.
So we have the old stack, which is basically a money pit we can't abandon, and the new stack, which is this huge startup cost we have to pay if we want to stay relevant.
And the source is asking, well, the trillion-dollar question. Where does the money come from? Well, usually the answer is we just print it, or we borrow it.
But that is where the trap snaps shut. The source argues that the U.S. dollar, as a single currency, simply cannot handle both burdens at the same time.
How so? What's the mechanic there?
Well, think about it. If you print money to fix the old stuff, patching potholes, paying pensions, that's inflationary. Why? Because it doesn't create new value. It's just maintenance.
You're printing money just to stay in the same place.
You are. It's like paying your credit card bill with another credit card. You aren't buying anything new, you're just servicing the past.
Okay, I follow that.
But then, you also need to print massive amounts of money to build the new stuff, the AI labs, the chip factories. And that's speculative investment.
Right.
If you try to finance the heavy dead weight of the past and the expensive promise of the future with one currency, you snap the currency in half.
That is a terrifying image. Snapping the currency. But is it really that binary? You always hear politicians say, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. Why can't we just patch the roads and build the server farms?
Because of the scale of the debt. The old stack isn't just physical, it's financial. It's the accumulated debt of the last 40 years. If you look at the numbers implied in the source, the debt service alone is starting to eat up the capital we need for the new stack. It's a resource war.
So it's a zero-sum game inside our own budget.
And the source argues this is the definition of the trap. You can't stop funding the old system because, well, society relies on it. You can't just let the bridges fall down.
Or stop paying Social Security.
Exactly. But if you only fund the old system, you lose the technological edge and all that future revenue. You fall behind.
So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. And the result, according to the text, is that you destroy the U.S. dollar.
Because global investors aren't stupid. They look at this overstretch and they say, wait, you're printing trillions just to keep the lights on. That devalues trust.
And if the trust goes,
The dollar's value evaporates.
Now, this leads to the second dimension of this analysis, which I found actually more disturbing than the money part.
Yeah, this part is rough.
Because money is abstract. We talk about trillions like it's monopoly money, but the source talks about skill loss. It argues that this economic trap actually changes how human beings behave. It makes us, well, less capable.
Skill loss is the polite term. The source uses a much more cynical phrase.
Milking the system.
That's the one.
Yeah, I circled that 3 times. Milking.
It sounds like something a disappointed grandfather would say about the younger generation. But what does it mean in this context?
It's about incentives. Humans are rational actors, generally speaking. So imagine you're a bright young graduate today. Look at the economy. Where's the safe, guaranteed money?
Right.
Is it in taking a huge risk to invent a new type of engine? Or is the money in working for a massive regulatory body or a legacy defense contractor figuring out how to extend a government contract for another 5 years?
I see. It's the difference between creating value and extracting value. Exactly. It is rent-seeking behavior on a societal scale. When an empire enters this overstretch phase, the old stack becomes so bloated and complex that just managing it becomes a lucrative industry in itself.
So you get generations of smart people who don't know how to build things.
They only know how to navigate the bureaucracy of things that were built 50 years ago.
We become a nation of consultants and compliance officers instead of builders.
And that is the milking. You are milking the dying cow of the old economy. You aren't feeding the cow. You aren't breeding new cows. You're just squeezing the last drops out.
That is such a depressing visual.
It is, but the source makes a critical point here. This creates a feedback loop.
A downward spiral.
Yes, because everyone is focused on milking on, extracting that last bit of profit from the legacy system. We actually lose the technical skills we need to build a new stack.
It's a brain drain, but it's internal. We aren't losing people to other countries. We're losing them to our own bureaucracy.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the source points out that this accelerates the decline. You have crumbling infrastructure, and you realize, oh no, not only do we not have the money to fix this, we literally forgot how to fix this efficiently.
We've lost the industrial muscle memory.
Yes, and that is the perfect setup for the historical comparison the source drops.
The USSR.
The USSR.
Now, I grew up in the 90s. The narrative was always simple. Reagan spent them into oblivion, Star Wars, democracy won, end of story. But this source is pointing to something much more internal. Right?
Much more structural. The USSR collapse scenario mentioned here isn't about losing the Cold War militarily. It's about this exact dynamic we just discussed.
Okay.
By the 1980s, the Soviet Union was spending an exorbitant amount of its GDP just trying to maintain its old stack, its heavy industry, its military footprint, its social guarantees.
All while trying to compete with the West on tech.
Which they couldn't do. They had brilliant scientists, some of the best mathematicians and physicists in the world. But their economy was structured around milking the state planning system.
There was no incentive to innovate.
None, because the old stack sucked up all the oxygen.
So the people who could have been building the Soviet internet were instead figuring out how to